Hello, my name is Jade Keenan. I'm a Salesforce consultant with CentralApp, and today we're going to be talking about report building in Salesforce. So to get started, I'm going to show you a few places where you're going to access the reporting capabilities within Salesforce. So the first place would actually be in your nav bar. As you can see here from our home page that I do have reports already added to the nav bar section here. And the second place you would actually find it is also in the nav bar section, but it's possibly underneath this More tab. It's very common for reports to be one of the last objects added to a nav bar, and so it often can get added under this More section. So by clicking on the caret here, I could quickly access the other objects that are added to the nav bar that are not currently visible. The second place where you can access the reports is actually through the app launcher. By going into the app launcher and clicking the search bar, I can type in reports and quickly be able to access the reports object. As you see, I clicked on the reports from the app launcher and it actually opened up the reports tab here. So now you're going to open up to the most recent reports. This is a very common Salesforce functionality where it shows you the most recent record, object, or item that you've been interacting with in the system, in this case reports. So if I had recently interacted with a report, you would see a list of reports here. This is just a Salesforce sandbox that we stood up. So we're going to go over here and we're going to look into all reports, and you can see that there are a couple of sample reports that are already within the system. Going back over to the left here, I kind of want to explain a little bit of how this is broken up. So the first section you have here is your reports. So it's broken into various different list views for reports, if you will. So you have recent, created by me, private reports, public reports, all accessed easily through the left bar here. Now you also have folders. Now it's very important that we take a sec on folders because folders are very crucial to the way that you access and interact with reports in the system. Folders are your security system for reports outside of your basic object security that you might have. So if you are creating a report and you are not wanting it to be seen by anybody, you'd probably want to create that as a folder that you only have access to. So it's usually good to have folders that are very specific for specific teams and give them visible access into those folders. Another thing it does is it also clears up their folder section. This tends to be one of my first places that I go to within the system when working with reports or looking up specific reports for specific projects. And so I will go here and I will go to the specific folder that I've organized for my initiative, whether it be for a project, leads, opportunity reports, sales leader reports. All of that can be stored into a specific folder and assigned out to specific users who need to have access to the information or reports built in them. So starting off, we're actually going to create a new folder. So you can actually do this from either the reports or the folder section. We're going to go up to new folder and we're going to name it. So we're going to say this is a test folder, and then you're going to click here so it gets its unique folder name. And then you're going to go over and click save. Now you'll see here in the all folder section, I have a new folder called test folder. And from here, I can begin to add new reports. But before we do that, we're going to zero in on the security that we were discussing about before. So going over and clicking on share, we're going to open it up and you're going to be able to see who has access to this folder. So you can see here, I as Jade Keenan have access to this folder, but there's no other names listed here. And so it is from here that I could either share with a specific user, I could share with a specific role, or a specific group. There are several different ways to share here, and you could easily make it accessible. So if you wanted the sales team to have access to it, you could pick the sales team. Really, you can add in quite a few different options. So we're going to go ahead and click done because this is going to be a folder that's just for me. And we're going to go click new report. So here's where we get to the bread and butter of this training video. So the way that your Salesforce is broken out is into objects. Those are your accounts, your contacts, leads, opportunities. You might have renamed them, but the key thing is that your records are stored in very specific buckets. And so when accessing a report, the first thing the report's going to ask you is, which bucket do I need to look in to get the data you need for the report? The second thing that's very important when approaching report building is to approach report building with a question. What is the question I am trying to answer here? So if I was trying to see a report that showed me the total amount of open opportunities, I would go up here and I would go in and type in opportunities, and then I'd begin to scroll through to see what report type had the data I was looking to investigate. What report type had the data that would answer my question? So for the sake of our question of what are the total amount of open opportunities, I would just need a report that had opportunities. So I'd go in and I'd click Start Report. So starting off, you're going to see a lot of different things across the board. First thing is that you're going to be able to see here, this is where you would record the report name. So this is very important when creating a report, and I usually end up making it the first thing I do, making it a very unique name. Despite what I'm saying with unique name, we're just going to call this test report. And we're going to click out of that box, and you'll see that the name has now been updated test report. The second thing I usually do always when opening a report is you'll see here there's this little warning sign. It says to see the latest updates, refresh and preview. So what I usually do is I go and I hit this toggle, which will automatically allow automatic refreshes to the data as I'm clicking through it and adding in specific parameters for how I want to view this report. Going back up to the top, you'll see here that we have several very important buttons. Here's our back button, forward button. This is very important when you do something and you're like, I didn't like that. So you go and click the back button. Maybe you're like, no, I actually did want that. And you click the forward button. You have the ability to, once you've built out the report, to add a chart directly to the report. And so you can add a specific type of graph, and we can explore a little bit of that later. And then when you're finished with your report, you're going to hit save and run. The run part is very important because what it's doing is it's going in and refreshing the report and making it so that way it has the most optimal data on the other side. You also do have save and run separately. Run will allow you to see the data concurrent on the page as is. And then next to our save button, we do have a downward caret here that allows us to expose the properties. And here, this is where we have access to add in a report description. Again, another very important section of building a report is describing the report well. What is the question you are answering? Would be a great description here. What is the total amount of open opportunities? We're going to skip that for right now. You can also see the unique name given for your report that will be generated upon saving, and then the folder that it has access to. This is very important when you're building out report folders to make sure that it's in the correct folder and has the correct access to give to people. If you make a report and it's in a private folder, no one outside of yourself will be able to see that. So going in and clicking save, we're brought back to our main page. We've edited our properties. We've gone in, we updated our preview update. So going across the top here, you'll see that these fields across the top correlate with these column fields. Now, the opportunities record type that we clicked comes with some pre-established fields that are automatically generated within. I usually like to go in and actually remove all columns to begin with. Usually when I'm creating a report, it's a very specific report. I want it to communicate very specific things, and I want a very clean slate. So I usually just go in and click that out first. The other thing that's very important here is that we have our filters. Now, show me is going to be very important because this is going to establish, as I look at the data, what am I looking at? You can think of this much like a list view, where there's different ways of organizing list view to show my leads, my team's leads, all leads, very similar functionality. So we can go in and be able to select what type of parameter we want to look at. So going back to our question, I want to see all open opportunities. We're going to keep it as all opportunities. Now, the other thing we have here is close date. So this is asking us what is the time frame in which I am looking or I'm wanting to narrow in my report. A lot of people usually want like quarterly reports, yearly reports. So what we're seeing here is what is the time period I want to investigate with my report. So clicking on this, because we're looking at all open opportunities, close date isn't going to be very applicable to us. So we're going to want to probably switch that to be created date or a different date that would allow us a wider parameter for that. And then we're going to want to switch our range to be all time. And so we're going to hit apply, and then we're going to go to opportunity status. Now this is very important because our question is, I want to see all open opportunities total. So going here, it's currently at any, we want to switch that to be open, and we're going to apply. And then the probability can remain as all because there's no parameter in which we're specifically looking for. If our question was, I want to see all open opportunities with a probability of 70% or more of closing and getting that total, that's where we would want to go ahead and use that. But right now our question is, I want to see all open opportunities. So going back to our outline here, we're going to go back to our fields and we're going to start adding in records. So the first thing that's very important is the account name and the opportunity name. So I'm actually going to switch those. You can grab it and pull it up to be able to grab that one first, or you could actually do it from here. Just grab it and pull it, much like an Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to want opportunity name at the front. We're going to want account name. And then we're going to want to know our opportunity owner and the stage that it's currently in, and then the amount of the opportunity. So these are all of our fields that we'd want to know when asking the question, how many open opportunities do I currently have? So now that we have all of the fields we're probably going to be using for answering our question, and then some. I really love to go in and I love to group these in a way that really makes them even more powerful. So taking this from a list view to a real report in Salesforce. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down here and I'm going to take opportunity owner and I'm going to put it in the group rows. So all of a sudden now I'm able to group by the opportunity owner, see how many opportunities they own, which accounts are they affiliated with and which stage, and then the amount. The subtotal would be for Jade, I'd be able to see I have about $2 million in sales. Now, one of the things that's very important here is let's say you have a very robust, large sales team. Odds are you might not be able to see all of their data here in our report builder. The report builder, as you can see here, is previewing a limited number of records. Run the report to see everything. So if I click run here, all of a sudden we're able to see here that there is even more data available. In this system there isn't, but in your system you would be able to see that. You'd be able to see the total amount of all the opportunities, how many open opportunities were available, and that's because of these toggles here at the bottom. Subtotals is really important when you're asking the question of how much does Jade have versus John. Grand total is what is the total amount. Detailed rows allows you to go in there and be able to see very specific things, but if you want to be able to eliminate and just focus on the money, you'd eliminate the detailed rows, which tell you the opportunity, account, and stage. And then the row counts, you can also turn that off and it immediately turns off the total. Most people like to keep these on. So going back here, one of the things that's very powerful also that I find people like is grouping by stage as well. So when I hit run, you can see that the report has kind of changed out of that report builder. In order to enter back into that report builder, I'm going to hit edit. And then I'm going to go back to our left-hand side here. So one of the things I love to do is to also group by stage. So I'm actually going to go in here and move my stage from here to here. Now all of a sudden you can see that I have the stage, subtotal, stage, subtotal. So I can see how much is in each stage. How much does Jade have as a subtotal as well? So again, 2 million for Jade, but you can see that I have various different stages and various different amounts there. You could also move this to be across the top if you were interested in starting to see how many does Jade have at various different stages as well. I find that most people end up liking this view a lot better, especially if they're only concerned about the numbers and not so much which opportunity, which account, la da da. This is very much what does leadership want? I want the numbers. And so you can go in and save and run from here. So that's a basic understanding of just how to set up an opportunity report that's focused on total amount, groupings, and grouping from different perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your day.